You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, and streaming live on Ustream. This is AfterBuzz TV for the Sing-Off. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip about the Sing-Off. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AfterBuzz TV for the Sing-Off.
Hey everybody, it's Tamara Berg. I'm here with Steve Bottomley for Season 3, Episode 2 of the Sing-Off.
Sing-Off.
Jesse, you did not see the episode, right? I just want to establish that right from the beginning.
Unfortunately, I
Okay,
did not.
you're going to have to watch it. Okay.
I will have to.
But here we are, Season 3, Episode 2, your first episode
Yes.
ever.
Yes.
You've never seen a single Sing-Off
No.
episode.
No.
And so I want to get out right in the beginning that you and I, Steve, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Long-time friends.
Yes,
I think
we have.
we actually consider each other. I consider you to be family to me.
Okay. Can I borrow
And-
$10?
Haven't we done that already? Don't you already owe me 10?
Okay.
Okay,
Go-
probably.
Continue.
But we not only know each other, you're a musician.
Yes.
And you're a singer, songwriter, musician, and we have sung together.
Yes,
we
we
were in
have.
a choir together, and that was
Yes, we
actually how we met.
Yes, it is.
Was in a choir. And so I've been telling all my friends for over a year that you have to watch the Sing-Off, you have to watch the Sing-Off. And I bullied you about it last week, and you said, okay, I'll show.
All right.
And
I'll
so
come.
here we are. And so I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too because honestly, I was really expecting to see what I eventually did see.
Yeah.
But besides that, that is a lot of talent that walks up on that stage.
That's what I keep
And,
saying to
yeah,
people.
I know. And you think a cappella. And tonight we got to see a cappella in pretty much every form.
Yeah.
Pretty much every
Yeah.
form. From the standard, from the old school to, we're going to turn this song on its edge. And but yeah, it's I can't wait to get into it. Because,
Well, so the first thing I want to know, because we were obviously sitting in the same room watching the show, and every couple of minutes I'd turn to you and go, oh my God. And then we would go, wait, save it for the show. And so my first question to you is, what do you think of the Sing-Off? What's your overall impression for the first episode?
my overall impression is there's like I said, there's a lot of talent on the show. I'm not sure what the judges are looking for at this stage. I think what they're looking for at this stage is who's the weakest ones that we can't work with any longer.
Right.
So at this point, I think they're just looking for a level of ability. And it'll be interesting to see as it goes on. Okay, now what are you zeroing in on, and what are the factors that you're going to be looking at?
Yeah, because as I said to you, and we kind of all know from watching, especially singing competition shows, it begins with the criticism being very light and fluffy and not very challenging at all.
Right.
And that's what we saw here tonight. There was very little actual criticism, and it actually made the critical critiques kind of glaring. He went, "Oh, well, they're going home."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anytime they went off the "Oh my God, you're awesome" page, it was pretty much like you guys want to start packing
you're
your
definitely
bag.
going to be thinking about that.
Yeah. Enjoy the bus.
So I just want to start with the opening song, and it was sang by My Chemical Romance. And watching it, I just was tapping my feet and saying, "This is why I love this show." I just love it. It makes me so happy. It was a beautiful song. I love how they roll out a new group.
Yeah.
And so you get to kind of get just a little taste of them.
Right.
And there were some great reveals when they brought out Messiah's Men. It's totally unexpected. And I went, oh my God. And then when they brought out the doo-wop group, the North Shore, again, just great reveals. Your impressions about that opening number?
I'm right with you. The only thing would be just figuring out how to isolate each performer or each group a little bit more when they come out. Because by the time everyone's there, it's a wall of sound.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful wall of sound.
Yeah.
But if you're the last band coming in, the last group coming in, you know, you're just kind of adding more. There's nothing you're going to do there. So, and the other thing I would think is that in the audience, it's probably a really just, you know, knock your socks off sort of experience. Whereas over the air, you've got the limiters and you've got, you know, everyone working to make sure it's all sounding even.
Right.
So, but if you're going to kick off a cappella show, that's an awesome way to do it.
Well, and there was something in the intro before that opening number. They were playing something, and you turned to me and you go, "Wait a second, hold on. I thought this was an a cappella competition." And I went, "Steve, that's voices."
I know.
So, right, even you were surprised right in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So that's again one of the things I love about it.
Absolutely. I kept going. Wait,
what-
why are they
wait,
using instruments
what?
in an a cappella?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I will be really interested to see if anybody starts looking at that and going, wait a minute, if we can do a bass guitar and we can do drums, you know, what else can we start bringing in here,
It's
guys?
a little like animated, taking the place of actual actors and having actors play multiple parts and things like that.
Or just in the groups as they progress through.
Right.
If they start thinking, you know, maybe anybody want to take a solo here, you know, I mean,
Right.
Because honestly, I think that based, and I guess we'll talk about this, but based on tonight, there's a few that are going to have to go, okay, we need to rethink this.
Yes.
And we really
Yes.
need to say, we've got these many voices. We need to take these voices and do something to bring us all
Right.
up.
How do we distinguish ourselves,
Right.
basically? Yeah.
Right.
So let's get right into
Sure.
the first group, which was the Dartmouth Airs from Dartmouth University in New
Yes.
Hampshire, sang Higher Ground. Okay, another one of the things I just generally want to say about this show, I love almost every single song. Practically every song they bring up, I go, oh my God, I love this song.
Yes, you were.
I was
You were
saying
quite
that.
the cheerleader
I
for
know,
the song list tonight.
I know, I'm a little embarrassing, but since I think of you as a brother, I can do that in front of you.
Oh, I love this song. I thought you
Oh my
loved the
God.
last one.
Oh,
I love
no,
this one more.
But I love this song. It's so true. But I'm a big Stevie Wonder fan, so that was great.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong doing any Stevie Wonder song.
Well, especially when you consider who the judges are, you've got
Right.
Ben Folds, who's of that, you know, kind of a kid in the 70s. Shawn Stockman,
right,
also
from
kind
Boyz II
of,
Men.
you know, around that same age. Sara Bareilles a little bit younger, but probably studied all the classics. So yeah, you kind of can't go wrong with those.
The thing
standards.
about doing the Stevie Wonder song is you better own it. You better make it your own, because if you try to just do a karaoke version of it, it's going to just fall flat.
Yeah.
And I thought they did. What I really liked about what they were doing is they had the bass as the root melody. I mean, they really stuck with that bass, which is really smart, because the Higher Ground is that bass riff, you know, and just absolutely. I mean, once you hear that bass, you go, dun, dun, dun,
I'm not a bass.
dun,
I'm an
dun,
alto.
dun, dun. But once you hear it, you go, oh, yeah.
Right.
So they stuck with it, and then they kept the melody pretty true, but the surrounding stuff, they went more for the ninths and the fifths, and they really kind of took the outside notes and just tweaked them just enough to keep you interested and going, okay, I see where you're going. So that, with the way that their clothes are and just their whole attitude, I
They
think
were really interesting to watch, weren't they?
They do. They've got a style. They've got, you know, you're not going to mistake them for anybody else, and that's
Because they've got
big.
Steve Urkel with the crazy
they do.
Mad Max hairdo
They
or whatever
do.
that was.
And they've got Serial Buddy clothing.
Yes.
It's the best way I can describe
clearly appeals to me a
Yes.
lot.
And I plugged the movie.
Right. There you go.
Woo! There you go. So
Awesome
yeah,
work.
I was, you know, I thought they did a good take on Higher Ground.
You know, I
and it
have
was
to say,
interesting.
the one thing is that the lead vocalist, to me, his voice was slightly shrill.
Yes, he was.
It was a little, you know, tinny, a little shrill. And I talked about this last week, Jesse. You'll remember this, but one of the things that sort of bothers me about a cappella groups is when they just do background and a single vocalist up front.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that uses the medium to its fullest power.
Right.
And so they did some of that, and my note was they didn't do any whole group singing, and I really want to have maybe because they've got such a large number of singers to do 4 voices doing something here and 4 voices doing something there, and then the vocal coming out of one lead and then another. I like to see that kind of mix up because you can do that in this medium.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that, so that's sort of what I look forward to with them.
And I think that's one of the things they have to start to figure out a way to move off of we're 4 singers or how many singers there are, and you're an instrument, you're a band essentially. So, like I said, you've got the bass and the drums. Most of them do.
Yep.
So now you've got to use these other voices to bring the rest of the instruments in, what you're talking about.
Yep.
But I thought they covered that pretty good with what I said, going with the 7ths and the 5ths and the 9ths and just changing up the voices. But I enjoyed them.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
New Hampshire represented.
New Hampshire. Yo. So Pentatonics from Arlington, Texas. I wrote almost nothing about them, but I just said that they were. I thought they were a really full sound for just 5 voices.
They did E.T.
Right.
And they were 5 voices. That's right. The problem that they had was they were too. Yeah. This is what I really liked about this show because they had 2 great examples of how to do this.
Right.
If you want to be a soul singer and if you want to have that energy and that depth, there were 2 awesome groups that proved it. They did not.
This wasn't one of them.
No, there's a huge mistake that goes on with a lot of singers, generally younger singers, who think that nasal and frill equals soul, and it doesn't. And when you have one person doing it, it's okay, but you can't do all of it. The other 2, there's 3 vocalists. All 3 of you can't do it because it sounds like a train wreck. And the end of their song, everybody went into this frilly, soul-y thing.
Right, doing the styling, the song styling, right?
And first of all, it's really tricky for one person to do it because you're still hitting notes. You better make sure those trill and frill
are within
notes.
the chord.
Yes. So at the end, it was just kind of all over the place, way too frilly, way too just a mash of just frill.
Yeah.
So they squeaked by, I think.
Yeah.
Although on the first round of judging, they were like the first. They're like, okay, you guys go off because we're gonna, mess with the last 2 over here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really know what the judges saw in it, to be honest. The bass was awesome, but he was a little off.
That's what I wrote too. I said that the bass was amazing.
Yeah, but he was also missing some of the notes because again, they were doing a lot of slides and stuff, and I think it's just an arrangement thing. And I don't know. Do you know if they have coaches with them? Do you know if they have
I wrote a note
conductors
here at the top that said, I need to find out about arranging, who does the arrangements.
Right.
When we get further into the competition, they do more. Each group does more songs. Obviously, in this competition, you have your swan song, which you always have ready.
Right.
And so far, each group has only done 1 song per week. And as you go in further toward the last episode, they're doing 3 and sometimes 4 songs.
Okay.
So that's a lot to get done in a week. And sometimes it's not even a full week between episodes. So they can't be doing their own arrangements because they get given assignments as we go on. They're told, we want you to do a song by such and such. Or actually, they given the assignment of the song. So they can't be doing their own arrangements, but I'm sure they have heavy influence if they've got the chops to be able to do it.
Well,
so
I know there's a couple that we saw tonight that did go ahead and get pushed forward, but they are going to need somebody on the outside to just listen and conduct.
Yeah, yeah. So, I agree with you. I think Pentatonics days might be numbered, but we'll see. So we moved on to Messiah's Men from Minneapolis by way of Liberia.
By way of Liberia in a civil war that was just tearing them apart. And essentially what they were saying was, when you're in a war situation, there is no beauty. There is nothing left in your country. There's just nothing except music. And while we were in refugee camps and as we were traveling, we would just get together and we would sing. And they brought that with them.
Yeah.
Not just, that experience in their music.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the examples of, do you want to be a soul singer? Then watch these guys.
Right.
Listen to these guys.
Right.
It's not about technique. It's about opening your body and letting the sound of the soul emerge. And they all did that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't do it enough.
Right. We were
I
saying...
thought they did. The judges didn't think.
Right. Well, we were saying as they were singing, they were kind of sticking to a really traditional version of People Get Ready, which we have actually sung together.
Yeah,
right.
we knew.
And again,
written by Curtis Mayfield.
Not. They said, they introduced it, People Get Ready. And I went, oh my God, I love this song.
And I
Steve
think
went,
I said, I know.
I know, because I've stood next to you and sung it with you.
Because we've done this
We
song.
did it. I think we were drinking. We were eating chocolates that were filled with liquor the first time we did it.
Probably.
Uh-huh. That's when you first knew you loved me.
Yeah. And it was quite the steady diet for a while.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They did great.
But they were sticking with kind of that traditional, the slow kind of cadence of that song. And we both were saying they got to crack it open.
Yeah.
They got to really, bring it out. And they did, but it was at the very, very end, and I wanted more. Yeah,
the problem with that song was when you get to the parts where normally music will fill it.
Yep.
They weren't. And I thought I was going to hear my first octave step of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, okay, well, if it's coming, it's going to be on this song because it's a perfect song you do that octave step, half step up, you bring the energy up.
Yes.
But you have to be able to keep that dynamic building so that when you hit that octave step, everyone's going, yes, that's it. Let's go.
And it lifts your heart.
Yeah. They didn't do the octave step. They didn't fill in the gaps. There was too many times and then this type of music, if you don't have that filled, that dynamic just drops. Yeah. And then you got to work to get it back up. And if you can get it here, that's great. But you generally get it there and it drops. So I think that's what shot him in the foot. Well, no pun intended.
Well, but I thought a couple of things that they said that I just wanted to mention was one of them mentioned in their package that they showed before they sang that they said when we sing together, it's like setting a caged bird free. Yeah. And I thought that was such a beautiful metaphor, and that was kind of what we were getting from them. And Shawn, I think, said, you have storytelling voices. Yeah. And your comment was, do you remember? That's what they call soul.
Yeah, okay.
That's what you said.
And that sounds so smart.
And that it does. I know. That's why I said it. But that's what we're talking about sort of playing a character versus being a character.
Yes.
Singing a song versus really conveying a song. I think that's the difference there. And the snare drum at the end, I turned to you and I went, "Oh my God, that was a real snare drum." Yeah. I think it was a mistake to vote them off this week.
I think it was a big mistake to vote them off, and the second the following group, is the reason why. I'll let you set it up.
Yeah. Okay. So Sonos from Los Angeles, I've heard of them and I have heard their music lots of times. Our friend John, who I mentioned last week, introduced me to them. And I'm not sure if I've seen them live, but I've definitely heard their music recorded. They did Wicked Game, Chris Isaak song, a really, to put it in Shawn's terms, an ambitious arrangement.
It was ambitious.
And your comment was?
Well, this isn't their fault, Sonos. Okay. This was the way that they cut these pieces together. But you go from a group of guys talking about civil war in the country they grew up in, and refugee camps and all of the horrors, to Sonos complaining about not being able to use their FX pedals. And I'm just going, really? Why don't you try to fight in the Civil War without your FX pedals? Yeah. And when you take a song like Wicked Games, which is known for the hook.
Yeah.
That you hear that hook, you know the song,
Yep.
and you pull that hook out of your song, out of your arrangement, you're going to have to really work twice as hard to get the people to give them
No
something
question.
to hang their hat on.
No question.
And that's what they did. What they were saying is, we like to take a song and turn it on its ear, which is cool. That's absolutely cool.
Yeah.
But you could also take the most recognizable part of that song and also turn that on its ear.
Right.
It doesn't mean you have to take stuff out. Turn the whole thing on its ear. You have to give your audience something to go, I'm with you still. I got that. That's part of the showmanship. That's part of the music.
And also when you say Wicked Game and you go, Chris Isaak, I know this song, and you start, but you haven't placed it yet, and you start hearing the lyrics and you go, I know this song, and what's going through your head is, for me anyway, the lyrics come to me, and then I go, but what is it?
What
does it sound like? What is it?
Yeah.
What's the and it creates dissonance for me.
Right. You're not in the music. You're in your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other problem I had with that was the dynamics. Instead of building up, it just kept dropping.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They had similar problems.
Right.
Those two groups had similar problems.
Yeah.
I just didn't think Messiah's Men were that bad.
Right. Well, I felt like Sonos was energetically flat.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe had relied too much on their gadgets, in the past.
Yeah.
And it just I felt, and I felt this when I've listened to their CDs before. And this is a terrible thing to say, but it's just the honest truth of how I feel about it. It was kind of Muzak-y to me.
Oh yeah.
It was just sort of like background music. It didn't impress. I didn't love it. I didn't feel it from them. And maybe it's because they're not using their gadgets that they're used to using, or maybe they're better live, but I wasn't loving it. And
if you rely too much on your effects pedals,
you become Kiss.
and then that's true. Then you better learn how to do without. And if there's something that those pedals are doing that makes the song so cool, then figure out how to do that
it without.
Yeah.
Well, and my comment was that the voices felt thin to me, and the way that one of the judges brought it out was they said, well, it was a very sparse arrangement.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I also hear that as thin and not filled out.
Right. So and again, at this stage of the program, you do start to listen to the critiques of, like I said, anything short of awesome.
Right.
You're on the chopping block. Sorry.
Well, and one of the things that I was just kind of thinking about was Sara Bareilles said that she sang with, I think it was one of the guys. She sang
she
Chris,
did.
so I think it was the guy who was in the back.
Right.
She sang with him in a college a cappella group.
Right.
And I thought, well, how does that work? Isn't there some sort, does her vote not count?
I was thinking that too. It's like, is that like the disclaimer? In full.
Yeah, okay, full disclosure.
Full
Because I think
disclosure?
you do have to mention it, because otherwise it's going to come out on all the blogs next week.
Right. And let's see. Oh, and I had a brief affair with you over there.
Exactly. And oh my God, remember that hot weekend we spent in Merced?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And,
Yeah.
Oh, and the film I have of you. So
right. Okay. And
I don't know. I would be a little bit nervous if I were the other band, other groups.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be an issue.
I don't either. I think
they will move on at a justifiable time.
Yeah, I think their days are a little bit numbered as well.
Yeah, and again, all of these things, it's just the difference of, look, you have to take the song and make it a whole new being.
Yes.
And it's not just a bunch of people singing. All of those voices have to create a whole new entity. Mm-hmm. And if there's parts of that entity that are missing, then you've got to figure out how to create a full entity.
Right.
And some of these groups don't have that entity yet.
So
some do.
With the first four, you agreed with me that Sonos should have been.
I was really surprised that they weren't the ones to go.
Well, the other reason that, just from a kind of TV production standpoint, I was surprised that they didn't keep Messiah's Men, just because their story is fascinating.
Right.
That this group from Liberia who landed in Minnesota, the land of our people.
Yes.
The Scandinavians. Woohoo!
Yeah. you know.
I just thought that was a mistake from a sort of heartstrings. They cut out the sentimental.
And here's the thing that I don't really get about it. There's later on we got to see the North Shore.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
North Shore, who represents a very specific type of a cappella.
Yep.
As does Messiah's Men.
Yes.
They represent a very sort of gospel, sort of, granted, it wasn't, perfect, but it wasn't bad. I thought it was a very good representation of that type of, music. And I thought it did a better job of that than Sonus did of
their
whatever they were
version,
trying to do. And if they were using effect pedals in their show and stuff, and that works, and that's awesome. That's great. Good for you. That's wonderful.
Keep doing that.
Yeah, but if you don't have them, figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite understand where they figured, okay, well, we'll just send them home because we weren't, into the people get ready, or I don't know. I don't
know either. But when Messiah's Men got voted off, I don't remember what it was. Their finale, their swan song was beautiful. And
Yes,
Jesse and I noted this last week. The two groups that got voted off last week were the best during their swan song. And Messiah's Men were the best during their swan song this week. Because they did that thing we were looking for. They lifted us up.
Yeah. And it was a pseudo gospel sort of song. I don't think it was strictly gospel, but and I don't remember it either. And I forgot to write it down.
Yeah.
I was stunned that they were leaving. Here's the weird thing about that, though.
Yeah.
You have to practice
Your swan
song
and be ready to sing it.
And be ready to sing. It's kind of like you have to load the executioner's rifles for them. Make sure the bullets are polished. Okay.
Okay.
It's just kind of weird. Okay, and then when we're leaving, here's what we'll do.
Yeah.
It's just like, can't you just, okay. All
And
right.
it happens every week.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Hey, what are you going to do when you get kicked off?
Oh my God, it's going to be awesome.
I think I had a couple of titles that they were going to sing that they didn't get to. So
No, they didn't.
okay.
They
No,
didn't. So we had a brief interlude. I sent you a couple of links that you haven't had a chance to watch yet of Committed, who were the winners from last season, who were awesomely fantastic. They made me cry practically every time they sang because they're so talented. And so they sang just a little bit of a song that I went, oh my God, I love this song. I know, it's really embarrassing, but I love music and they just keep singing.
You just love a lot of songs.
I do.
It's not embarrassing.
Songs.
You're a great fan.
I am a great fan, and I'm buying that on iTunes tonight when I get home because it was fantastic.
That little
always.
piece that they did was really awesome. And did you know what they did? Did you notice what they did? They just opened their mouth and sang. They didn't inflect.
Right.
They didn't try to push. They
That's
didn't
right.
do any sort of, whoa. They just said, here's the note. It's coming from the base of my soul.
I'm telling you, you are going to love them when you watch some of their pieces. You are going to love them.
Good.
You will. I know you will because I know you.
Okay.
Okay, so then we go on to the next four.
The next round.
And we have the Collective from Nashville. Okay, all soloists. Put together by Jeremy, who is from Street Corner Symphony, the runners-up of last week, which you are going to love. I sent you the link of their Down on the Corner.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which is
okay.
awesome.
Okay.
And Jeremy's brother, Joshua, I can't read my notes, but his brother is one of the singers in this group, and they sang Rolling in the Deep by Adele.
Yeah.
Take it away, Steve, because I know you have things to say about this.
Yeah. There's a style of vocal that just drives me up the wall, and it's the nasal soul.
Yeah.
It's when you put the whole voice right here.
Right here.
And then you have to do the frill on top of that.
Yep.
And it's not, it just sounds really irritating.
Yeah.
You're skinning a cat. And what was really frustrating about it is the girl that was doing it, when she finally did open up.
Yes.
And, used her whole body for the voice, she was great. And I was watching that, and I kept thinking, instead of being with her in that moment, I kept thinking, why didn't you do that at the beginning?
Yes.
Why did you have to drop it way up here where it's just small and tinny?
Uh-huh.
But then near the end, there was like a weird effect she was doing where I thought they'd put a flanger on her because it was this weird thing. She should have gone up to Sonus and worked with them because
Right.
they had no effects pedals.
Right.
But the end of
been
that just got kind of messy.
That's exactly the word that I came up with as well.
Yeah.
It just it didn't sound clear. It was undefined.
Yeah.
It was kind of all over the place. And
Yeah.
I didn't. And I wanted to love them because I love Jeremy. I figured his brother was going to be that same kind of singer. Their style is similar to Street Corner Symphony, but I wanted to love them, and I just. It just didn't do it for me.
And it might be a couple of things. Maybe they're still trying to find their way.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just trying to figure out who's doing what and everything. Or maybe they're all a bunch of individual artists who don't quite have that cohesive, we've been working for years. I don't have to push here because you have this covered.
Right.
We got to bring these two voices together to cover this part. Because sometimes a wall of sound is just a wall of sound.
Yes.
And not uplifting or anything. Or appealing.
Right.
And that's kind of how it was. It was just a whole bunch of energy being pushed out without any sort of through line, without anything that you can just follow the song with.
Well, and that's something that's really, really important when you're talking about any kind of group endeavor. Again, as you and I know, because we've also done sketch comedy together.
We have.
And I told you, Steve and I, we know each other very well. We've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
And
John stole her away from me.
Yeah, right. No.
That's not
I
true.
stole John away from you is really
that's
what
how
it
it was.
Yeah,
I remember
that's
there
how
was.
It worked. But that collective really needs to come together, and when it doesn't work, it's problematic. It's every VH1 Behind the Music that we've seen, you know. And I think because they're soloists brought together, I think it might part be that they haven't found their groove yet, but it also just might be the nature of being a bunch of individual artists coming together. They may not hit their stride in time just because the egos and the sense of I've been alone for so long, I don't really know how to be on a team.
And that's a good point, because if you've been in Nashville, which,
Yep.
everybody just shows up and makes it there.
Yeah.
If you've been there trying and you're not getting any headway over there, you're more inclined to grab anything.
Yes,
at this
opportunity-wise.
Any opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, you've got 10 people looking for that same opportunity. You've got 10 individualists. So it's going to be really hard for them to say, look, everybody step back. We're one voice. Nobody has to step up and take the star here. And what they've done already, they've already positioned their lead singer, whatever the black girl's name is.
Right.
As
April Avon. It was an A name. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, they've already kind of positioned her as, you're the front girl. Well, I think that's a mistake. I think you really need to say we're all doing this. And, if she's the front girl, well, then she's the front girl for just a real small amount of time. And then we're all coming in behind her.
Yeah. And again, that thing that I love about a cappella, when you have the blends of the voices, yes, you can have a lead singer, but I don't just want to keep watching one lead singer with a bunch of people going ooh ah ooh ah in the background. So
right.
we'll see how they come out.
Yeah.
So next we had Sold Out from Wilsonville, Oregon. And as they say in the South, God bless them.
God bless them.
God bless them.
God bless their tender hearts.
Yeah. God bless them.
Yeah, they're a high school choral group is essentially what they are.
They were Glee. They're Glee.
They're Glee. And that's what they said.
Show choir.
We're the real life Glee. I'm going to assume it's from a very wealthy community because it was pretty much a monochrome group. And they did
Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In.
It was
And
such
you
a
were shaking your head
huge
from the very
mistake.
beginning because,
Huge
oh,
mistake.
wait, where do we know that song from? Everywhere.
Yeah.
And, oh, wait, we've sung it together.
Yeah, again,
Okay, it's
we've
not
done
going
it.
to go on forever like this, I promise.
No, but what I did say is, I've seen this from every high school choral group I've gone. And you've got a group of high school. The last thing you want to do is remind the judges we're a group of high school kids. Yeah. And it really, as soon as they hit the first bit, I was like, you guys, this is just your standard, this is what you do for your spring chorus
Right. It's their finale song of the big, exactly. The
for
spring social or whatever.
fling or whatever you're going to call it, including the stupid I'm
Headbands.
Sorry. The outfits and
Well,
everything.
I have to say, I hated their wardrobe. And I talked last week about how much I loved the wardrobe and was really impressed with the wardrobe all throughout last week's episode. But I hated their wardrobe this week because it looked homemade versus handmade. Is a
Right.
distinction that I make. Their skirts looked like they hadn't been pressed right. It was really bland, really boring, and everything about them looked not quite polished.
Everything about what they did looked to me like they had shown up right off the bus
Yeah.
to compete with a bunch of other high school bands,
Yeah.
or high school choral groups,
Right.
for a little regional sort of trophy. There was nothing about it where I said, you're not going to step this up for a national competition.
Yep.
And then to top it off, when they finally will let the sun shine,
Yes.
the second half that's supposed to pop, that's supposed to get everybody on their feet, that's supposed to get everyone, it was flat. They didn't do anything. They just kind of
Well, it was the standard arrangement that I was singing along because I knew the part. I've sung it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And they stuck with the standard arrangement that you can pick up at your music store down the street until the very end. The last 20 seconds or so, they had some little bits here and there that were different from that standard arrangement. But they really stuck to it all the way through. And I thought, well, you can't possibly even compare to these other groups that are singing, intricate arrangements and really difficult harmonies and really standing out. And you're doing your awesome Spring Fling show choir. piece.
You're going on the same stage with a bunch of college and professional musicians.
Yes.
And this is what you're going to bring.
Yeah.
So, as soon as they were done, we just looked at each other and went,
okay, goodbye.
Yeah,
Get ready for the bus.
Yeah, get ready for the
It's gonna
bus.
be a long ride back to
because
Oregon. I mean, they
had everybody.
I think they were probably very good for a high school group. Last season, we had a high school group on as well that really were surprising. And these guys weren't. They were just lackluster. And, God bless them.
God bless their
I'm
little
sure
hearts.
they're all bless their hearts.
Bless
That's
their
the one I
hearts.
really meant to say.
Bless their hearts.
They're just they lack maturity, and that will come, and they'll have a great time. But they do have Ethan in their group, who is the new Clay Aiken. He looked exactly like Clay
Yes, he
Aiken.
did.
It was a little bit odd to me. And
Yes, he
Sarah,
did.
I think, mentioned that
We'll
he was a
see.
cutie
We'll
pie.
see Ethan on American Idol.
Sure.
Half of these kids will just
Sure,
shift
of
over
course.
there. But that's why I was wondering if they have a conductor or an arranger or somebody that could have stepped up and said, this is how it's going to. This is somebody that could have stepped up and said, guys, you're making a mistake.
Well, it could have been that because they're high school students, they're probably not music students necessarily. They're still in high school, for goodness sake. So sorry.
Bless
It
you.
could just be that they didn't have the chops to be able to do some of these more intricate harmonies and some of the more difficult parts of the arrangement, and so they just stuck with what they knew.
I don't know. I would have, like I mentioned, I think I would have gone back to like a 40s, or
Yeah,
I
I
just
think
would
that was a
not
good
have
idea.
put it right in the middle of that choice.
Yeah.
Mac the knife, do anything to throw everybody off and just go, whoa, wait a minute, there's something more here than a group of high school kids.
Yeah.
Or figure out a way that you're going to take that standard and really own it.
Yes.
And really make it big. But you know what? God bless them.
Bless their hearts.
So-
Okay, so then we move on to North Shore, the Boston doo-wop group. First of all, loved their accents.
Yes.
When they were
Raw
talking.
Boston.
I
This
can't
is-
even do
This
it.
is old school street corner.
Street corner.
We need Kevin in
singing.
here. He could-
Yeah, I know.
Kevin
we
could
could.
do it for
so
us.
doo-wop on the street with a gallon of Zinfandel. I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to be their alto.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I please sing with those guys?
5 guys, I would say all of them are easily over 55.
Yes.
I mean, they were showing pictures of when they were doing the disco thing.
Yeah.
2 of them been working together for a long time. The bass.
Oh my God, Thomas was his name.
They were doing an interview, and it was
time
just a
he
voiceover. It's like, I wonder who that is. He's got this low
I mean, you
voice,
could
and just-
feel it.
I know. I'm listening to him go, that guy could talk you out of anything. He could absolutely talk you like, you don't really need that card. No, I don't. Thank you.
Take it.
And they were old school, and they a perfect choice. They came out and they did Run Around Sue.
Yeah.
Which
And what did I say? Oh my God, I
I
love
love
this
that song. Which is a great choice. As soon as they
Yes.
started it, you could feel the energy. You could feel it. People started clapping. Everybody was into it because they said, "This is who we are.
Right.
This is what we do. Sit back, and we're going to school you.
Because that's what they were. This was their signature song. That's
Mm-hmm.
what everybody was supposed to do today. They do their signature song, and so
Mm-hmm.
they just they absolutely stepped up to it.
The only thing about it,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to take a hard look at this because they didn't open it up.
Right.
There were too many spots of Run Around Sue where there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Where you have to carry a note over. You have to fill in that gap. Otherwise, we're talking dynamics again.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't doing that. And like I was saying in there, they can easily become a oldies radio station, which is kind of cool to listen to for like maybe 3 songs.
Right,
then
and then
you're
you're
flipping
changing it.
back to,
Yeah.
I give some Foo Fighters. So,
Well, and as I told you last season, there was a doo-wop group from Oakland, and I can't remember. It was somebody and the Somebodies, and they made it into the top 5. And because they were really traditional, but they were more that kind of Temptations sort of thing. These guys, I think, are a little more versatile.
Yeah.
And they've got such personality and such stage presence. And Guy was the lead.
Yeah.
You just want to hang out with him.
Right.
And like Sara said, you guys feel like family to
Right,
me. And I
right.
think that's going to carry them a long way.
I think it will too. And I think they do have the depth that they can do stuff like Mac the Knife. They can
Yep.
do some of the 40s. They can do a lot of the standards and make it their own. And they're bringing just this wealth of just experience where it's an opportunity to sit back and go, okay, guys. So all of the youngsters that were
Yeah.
sitting there going, I'm thinking, no, don't be clapping and waving. Settle down and listen
yeah.
and watch because you're being schooled here
Yes.
about how to sing.
Yes.
So they were great. I liked them.
I did too.
I hope, they tighten a few things up, but I think you're right. I think we're going to see them for a while.
I think so too. Then we had the Deltones from the University of Delaware singing Feels Like Home, and not written by Curtis Mayfield, by Randy Newman, made famous by Bonnie Raitt. They had that nasal lead, which you and I both can't stand.
Yeah.
I thought it was not a good showcase song, really, more than anything. It just sort of like
it was
okay.
it was 15 people that sang,
Mhm.
and that was it.
Mhm.
I would have, if you're going to have a single, just a single voice up there.
Yes.
Then let her be a single voice for a little bit. Give her a line, give her 2 lines. But they had her up here, and then they were trying to do this, slow. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, but where's your dynamics now?
Yep.
So that was a problem with that,
Yep.
is they started here and then just hovered. And
Yeah.
they didn't take it anywhere. And they a lot of the other groups had really good stage presence, and they really figured out, with the exception of the high school groups, how to, really utilize what they had, and they just kind of huddled behind her. It kind of seemed like we're all too afraid to really, do anything. We're going to let her do this.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time they kind of opened it up, I was too bored to care.
Yeah.
Plus, you have to remember where you're coming off of. They don't have control about the order they're going on.
Right.
But if you're coming off of North Shore,
Yep.
if that was a group that went before you, you better get your dynamic up. You better get your energy up to meet that.
Right.
Otherwise, there's a thing in comedy where you always want to follow a good comedian because the energy's there and it's a little bit easier. Well, in music, it's a little different. If you follow a really good band, you better step up because now the audience wants that same energy.
That's right.
And they didn't do that.
That's right.
They huddled down. They got quiet. They got small, which is fine. But
Well, because
it's your
that's what that
responsibility.
song lends itself to, but you need to bring dynamically.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's fine. Choose any song you want. I'm just saying, make sure that you take your listener somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of a song as a film, every time you see the movie, you don't want to see the same scene over and over and over. So in that one, it was a loop. That was like Groundhog Day without the funny. You just kept seeing the same
And that's
scene.
not good.
And that's not good.
That's not good.
So, but what a cool show.
Yeah.
It really is a cool show.
So I want to go to commercial now, and then we'll do a little bit of a wrap up and talk
Okay.
some more about the sing off.
Want to find out what the AfterBuzz is about?
Janice is a drama queen.
This is the divide that is going to carry the series.
Give us a call. 424-256-1729. 256-1729.
It's television, and they want it to be as dramatic as possible.
I mean, it's Shakespearean.
You never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Find out why AfterBuzz TV is the #1 source for after-show content.
Now, in the eyes of Jimmy, Nucky is a villain.
424-256-1729. 424-256-1729.
I mean, who would you guys rather hear that from? Your husband or your best friend?
The wig will come out.
When the TV show is over, get your AfterBuzz on.
Ooh, wow, that was a little abrupt. Yeah, so we're gonna.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So now we have 10 groups. You've only seen 5. You're gonna have to catch up. Just you
I only
need
saw
to.
8 tonight, though.
Right. But last week there were also 8 that came down to 5. How many? 5? Right. 6. You saw 8 tonight.
You saw 8 tonight.
What am I doing?
don't know.
6 left.
1, 2, 3,
There's
4,
8 that we
5,
saw.
6. Oh, so we're down to 12. Okay.
Oh, it's because
there were 8
they're rotating
this
it
week,
through. Okay.
16 total. 8 last week, 8 this week.
Okay.
2 each week eliminated, so we're down to 12 groups. So you
Okay.
need to catch up and go back
Yeah.
to last week's episode. You can find it on Hulu or whatever, and listen to me and Jesse talk about last week too. You
Okay.
can do that. It's part of your
Okay.
assignment. So from
I got homework.
you do from this week, I will say. I'm going to say that North Shore is my favorite at this point. I'm surprised to say that. I'm surprising myself saying that because one of my favorites, The Messiah's Men, got voted off.
I'm going to agree. I thought North Shore actually stepped up and did, this is, if you're going to choose an a cappella,
Right.
this is the best version of
Right.
that choice. I wanted to really like the Dartmouth Airs, but there was just something that they were just pushing it a little too much.
Well, I think it was that partly too that thing that I was talking about, that where the nasal voice is the one we don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like the shrillness of his voice, and so I think that's part of it. For me, last week's, I think the group that I liked the most was Delilah, and it's a super group. It's a bunch of girls who have been on other seasons, put together kind of like the soloist group, the collective. So watch out for them.
Okay.
I think it's kind of be the
Delilah.
girls and the boys. Delilah, which is the new kind of more edgy, sexy, flashy group, against kind of, the North Shore, which has this gravitas and this charm of the old school group singing. I think that's, sort of what I'm going to be looking at next week. It's going to be exciting, though.
Yeah, again, there's a couple of things I can kick North Shore out. They could choose the wrong song at the wrong time.
Exactly.
But I think we'll see a few more go before they
I think
leave.
so too.
Do you want to guess which one may be the next one, or do we?
Next one out?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't seen half of them, so you don't know.
But from this group,
Okay, yeah. Tell me what you think. Who you think is going to be out next? Sonos.
I'm going to say. And I'm trying to think of the critique that they were saying, but if I had to choose 2, I would say either Sonos.
Yeah.
Or Pentatonics.
Pentatonics. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say one of those 2 are probably going to go.
Yeah. So next week is going to be another 2 hours. It must be another 2 hours because
I would think.
They've got 12 groups. They're singing 2 songs each. So that will have to be 2 hours.
Songs.
Yeah, it'll have to be 2 hours.
Because this was 8 groups with 2 songs. 1 song.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 3 hours?
They're just gonna make them go fast. They'll make them go fast. I hope. I haven't checked, so I don't know.
You get 4 notes.
And then we're gonna also play Name That Tune. So tell me, what is your overall sense of the show? What do you think of the sing-off? I bullied you into watching.
You bullied me in.
And what do you think?
I like it. I really do. Whenever you think a cappella, you go, it starts here, it goes in, and but this is not the case. They are very good at taking energy, packaging it, figuring out what they can do. I like it because when it doesn't work, it's pretty obvious.
You can tell?
Yeah, you can tell. And there's nowhere to hide. That's what I really like about it. You can't kind of hide behind the guitar. You can't do any of that stuff. You absolutely have to work as a team.
Yep.
If there was ever a sport in music, it's this, because if you're not pulling your own part, or you didn't, practice hard enough, or you miss like North Shore, where he missed that final top note.
Oh yeah, that was
those
that was
little
harsh.
things.
Yeah.
As much as Nick Lachey likes to say, the littlest thing, and that's really true.
Yes.
So you're kind of looking to, and it'll be interesting when the judges finally start to use their expertise to start. I don't want them to go all, the English.
Oh, they
guy on
won't.
them.
They don't.
And, they don't have to be obnoxious about it.
They absolutely don't.
But I like it. I do. I really like it. And you know me in TV shows, and I'm kind of like,
You watch 2 TV shows.
I'm getting to be a curmudgeon. So yes, thank you for bullying me.
You're welcome.
God, I hope
I'm
next
really
week
happy.
there's songs you like, because that was brutal.
Oh my God, I love this song.
I don't know how much popcorn you threw at the screen.
And hey, listeners out there, if you get a chance, take a look at my website, tamaracentral.com. I don't sing on it at all, not anything, but there are things to see. Steve's and his son, Nicholas, did the music, some of the music for Serial Buddies, the new film that we all have worked on.
A few songs in there.
So when Serial Buddies comes your way, check it out. You can also find it on IMDb so you can learn a little bit of something about it. But that's all we have for plugs right now. Looking forward to next week on the Sing Off. So anything else you got?
No, just, learn to sing before you get in front of a camera. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I am Tamara Berg with Steve Bottomley. We are going to say see you next week for the Sing Off.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.